Korean billionaire CEO installed hidden cameras to protect his disabled twins. What he found his maid doing changed his life forever. The night Min-ho Park confronted Jisoo, the air in his office felt electric with tension. She stood before his desk, her hands trembling but her posture dignified. "You've been watching me through cameras," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Min-ho couldn't meet her eyes, his gaze fixed on the Seoul skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office. The weight of his deception pressed down on him like a physical force. "I had to protect them," he finally responded, his voice harsh with defensiveness. "You don't understand what the others did when they thought no one was looking." Jisoo's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of shame or fear. They held something far more devastating: disappointment. "So you watched me singing traditional lullabies to your children at midnight? You watched me performing the healing exercises my grandmother taught me when the doctors had already given up? You watched me massaging Sumin's hands when your specialists said nothing would help? Calming Junho's seizures with pressure points your expensive medical team dismissed as superstition." The accusation in her voice cut through Min-ho like a blade. He had indeed watched all of this and more. Hours upon hours of footage revealing a truth he hadn't been prepared to discover. "Did you see me praying for them, Mr. Park?" Jisoo asked, her voice breaking. "Did you see me loving them when I thought no one would ever know? What would you do if you discovered the person cleaning your home was secretly healing your children's hearts?" If you believe in the power of unexpected kindness, hit that subscribe button and notification bell right now, because today's story will touch your heart in ways you never expected. Would you fire them for overstepping boundaries? Or would you recognize that sometimes miracles arrive in unexpected forms? Have you ever wondered what really happens when no one is watching? Today's story might just change how you think about trust, protection, and what it truly means to see someone for who they really are. The night Min-ho Park installed the hidden cameras, his hands shook despite his reputation for unwavering precision. As founder and CEO of Park Digital Systems, Korea's leading cybersecurity firm, he'd built a billion-dollar empire on his ability to anticipate threats. His board members often remarked that Min-ho could identify a security breach before it even happened. But this wasn't about business. This was about Sumin and Junho, his 4-year-old twins, the only pieces of Sun-hee he had left in this world. Min-ho carefully positioned the first tiny lens in the corner of the nursery, angling it to capture both specialized medical beds. He installed another in the playroom, concealed within a plush tiger. A third went into the therapy space. Each camera fed directly to his private server, accessible only through his encrypted devices. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the empty room, the Korean words feeling strange on his tongue. He so rarely apologized, even in private. "But I need to know you're safe." He knew some might call it invasive, paranoid even. But they hadn't watched the certified nurse scrolling through social media while Junho struggled to breathe during a seizure. They hadn't caught the physical therapist roughly manipulating Sumin's rigid limbs, muttering curses in Korean when the little girl cried out in pain. They hadn't heard the night attendant telling her friend on the phone that children like these were better off never having been born. Min-ho had fired them all, but the damage remained in his children's fearful eyes, in Junho's increased seizures, in Sumin's retreat further into herself. "Never again," he promised, testing the camera feed on his tablet. The image was crystal clear, the audio sensitive enough to pick up breathing. No one would hurt them when he wasn't looking. He would make sure of it. 5 years ago, Min-ho wouldn't have recognized the man he'd become. Cold, suspicious, obsessed with control. But 5 years ago, Sun-hee had still been alive, her gentle presence balancing his driven nature, her laughter softening his sharp edges. The memory of the hospital room still played in his mind with merciless clarity. The beeping monitors, the shouted medical terms, the metallic taste of fear. "Something's wrong," Sun-hee had said hours earlier, her hand pressed against her swollen belly. "Min-ho, the babies are too quiet." He had rushed her to Seoul's most prestigious hospital, making calls on the way, pulling strings to ensure the best care. Park Digital Systems had just secured its largest international contract. Minho believed his resources could solve any problem. Money had always opened doors for him, silenced opposition, secured victory. But money couldn't stop the placental abruption that sent Sun-hee into emergency surgery. It couldn't prevent the massive hemorrhaging that followed. It couldn't keep her heart beating when her body had given everything to bring their children into the world. "Promise me they'll know love," she had whispered, her final words before the monitors screamed their alarm. Then silence. A silence that had followed Minho for the past 4 years as he raised their children alone. A silence that echoed through the vast penthouse that should have been filled with the family they had planned together. The twins were born with severe cerebral palsy, their nervous systems damaged by oxygen deprivation during the traumatic birth. They couldn't speak, could barely move independently, and required constant specialized care. The specialist spoke in careful terms about managing expectations and quality of life considerations. Minho refused to accept limitations. He'd built a medical suite in his Gangnam penthouse, hired Korea's best therapists, and researched experimental treatments across the globe. He approached his children's care like a business problem. Identify the issue, allocate resources, implement solutions, monitor results. "Your children may never walk, Mr. Park," Dr. Kim had said during their last consultation. "They may never speak. The brain damage is extensive." Minho had simply stared back at him with cold fury. "Then we'll find ways for them to communicate without speaking. We'll build devices to help them move. But don't tell me what my children will never do." If the story is moving you so far, please take a second to hit that like button. Your support helps us bring more of these powerful real-life stories to light. Minho's parents had only made things worse. Traditional in their thinking, they viewed the twins' condition as shameful, a reflection on the family's honor. "There are excellent facilities," his father had suggested during one of his rare visits. "Places where children like these can be properly cared for. You're still young, son. You could remarry, have healthy children." Minho had ordered his father out of the house, fury burning through his veins. He hadn't spoken to his parents since. He would not hide his children away. He would not pretend they didn't exist. He would give them everything, except, perhaps, the emotional connection he found himself incapable of providing since Sun-hee's death. Caregivers came and went. Some lasted weeks, others months. They all said the right things in interviews, smiled the right way, presented impeccable credentials. When alone with the children, though, their true natures emerged. Minho had witnessed impatience, neglect, even cruelty through previous nanny cams. The new system was more sophisticated, but no less necessary. Minho had filed complaints, left scathing reviews, even threatened legal action. But it changed nothing about the fundamental problem. People saw his children as burdens, as medical challenges, as career stepping stones. Not as Soo-min and Jun-ho. Not as the tiny humans who smiled at butterfly shadows on the wall, who calmed at the sound of rainfall, who still carried Sun-hee's eyes and quiet determination. So when Jisoo Kim arrived for her interview, unassuming, with kind eyes and a resume that listed mostly housekeeping positions, Minho's skepticism remained intact. She wasn't qualified on paper, but something in her steady gaze made him pause. They sat in his office, the Han River visible through the windows. Jisoo wore a simple blue dress, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. No designer bag, no flashy jewelry, nothing that signaled ambition or pretense. "Your resume shows no experience with special needs children," Minho said coldly, studying her face for signs of deception. "This position requires more than standard housekeeping." "That's true, sir," she replied, her voice carrying a soft, melodic quality. "But I helped care for my grandmother through 5 years of stroke recovery. I know what it means to care for someone who needs extra help." "That's family," Minho dismissed. "This would be a job." "With respect, Mr. Park," Jisoo responded with surprising firmness. "Caring isn't something you turn on and off like a light switch. Either you have it in you to see the person behind the need or you don't." Minho raised an eyebrow, irritation flickering across his face. That's a nice sentiment, Miss Kim, but I need practical skills, not philosophy. My practical skills include knowing how to turn a person without causing muscle spasms, how to read facial cues when someone can't speak, how to create routines that provide security but don't become prisons, she replied evenly. And I know that people with disabilities aren't defined by what they can't do, but by who they are. Something in her words penetrated Minho's carefully constructed armor. He couldn't pinpoint why, but he found himself leading Jisoo to the twins' wing of the penthouse. The large, bright room was filled with medical equipment carefully integrated with cheerful decor, an attempt to create a space that was both functional and warm. Sumin and Junho were positioned in specialized supportive chairs, attended by their current nurse, a tight-lipped woman who'd already given notice. Most people hesitated when first seeing the twins, unsure how to approach children in adaptive equipment with feeding tubes and monitors. Jisoo walked straight to them and knelt down, bringing herself to their eye level. "Hello there," she said warmly. "I'm Jisoo. It's a pleasure to meet you both." She addressed them directly, not speaking through the nurse or Minho, as most adults did. She didn't use the high-pitched voice people often reserved for babies or disabled children. She spoke to them like people. "You have your father's determined eyes," she told Sumin, whose gaze followed her movements. "And you," she said to Junho, "have the most thoughtful expression I've ever seen. You're taking everything in, aren't you?" Minho watched, conflicted. Was this an act? A performance to secure the job? He'd been fooled before by people who knew exactly what to say. "They can't respond," the nurse said flatly. Jisoo didn't look away from the twins. "They're responding right now, just not in ways you're looking for." She pointed to Junho's hand, which had relaxed its usual tight fist slightly, to Sumin's breathing, which had slowed and deepened. "May I?" she asked Minho, gesturing toward Junho. After his nod, she gently touched the boy's arm, stroking from shoulder to fingertips with light pressure. "This helps release tension," she explained. "My grandmother called it Jiaiak Chio-chi, remembering touch, helping the body remember it's safe." Junho's hand relaxed further. The nurse looked surprised. Minho made his decision then, though doubt still clouded it. He hired her against his better judgment, expecting to review camera footage within days showing her true colors. The twins were particularly challenging lately. Junho's seizures had increased, and Sumin's sleep patterns were disturbed. Minho installed the new cameras with enhanced audio features the night before Jisoo started. Her first day passed uneventfully. She cleaned efficiently, prepared meals, and interacted with the twins under the supervision of their nurse. Minho barely checked the footage, consumed by a merger that required his complete attention. Park Digital Systems was negotiating to acquire a Japanese cybersecurity firm, a move that would establish Minho's company as the dominant force in the Asian market. The board was divided, shareholders nervous about the price tag, and competitors circling like sharks, spreading rumors to tank the deal. "You look exhausted," his CFO commented after their third consecutive late meeting. "Those kids still keeping you up at night?" Minho stiffened. Song-ho had been with the company since the beginning, but he'd never understood Minho's devotion to the twins. In Song-ho's world, children like Sumin and Junho would be institutionalized, allowing Minho to move on and have a real life. "The acquisition is keeping me up," Minho replied coolly. "Not my children. Are you finding this story as incredible as we did? Let us know in the comments below if you've ever discovered someone's true character when they didn't know they were being watched. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? For 3 days, Minho worked 18-hour days, coming home only to sleep. The new maid seemed competent enough. The house was clean, meals prepared, and the nurse hadn't complained. Minho assumed all was well. Then, 3 days after Jisoo started, a board meeting ran late. Minho returned home after midnight, exhausted but unable to sleep. His mind raced with figures, projections, counteroffers. Sitting in his home office, he poured a glass of soju and, almost as an afterthought, opened the security app on his tablet. "Might as well check in," he murmured to himself. He selected the playroom feed from earlier that evening and prepared himself for disappointment. The usual perfunctory care, the minimal interaction, the silent efficiency he'd come to expect from staff who saw their work as just a job. The screen illuminated with soft light. Jisoo sat cross-legged on the floor between the twins' specialized supportive chairs. She wasn't cleaning or organizing her official duties. Instead, she was speaking to them, her hands moving expressively as she told a story. Minho increased the volume, curiosity overriding his fatigue. And that's why the tiger has stripes, she was saying to Junho, whose eyes tracked her movements with unusual focus. Not because he's fierce, but because he earned them protecting the weakest animals in the forest. She turned to Sumin, whose hands typically remained clenched tight. The tiger sees how brave you are, sweet girl. How hard you try. Minho leaned closer to the screen. Jisoo had removed Sumin's arm brace, strictly against protocol, and was massaging her rigid fingers with oil, singing softly. To his astonishment, Sumin's fingers were gradually relaxing, unfurling like delicate flower petals. There you go, Jisoo whispered. Your body remembers how to be free. Minho felt a flash of anger, who gave her permission to remove medical equipment, followed immediately by confusion. Sumin's hands had been permanently clenched since infancy. Doctors had said the contractures might require surgery eventually. Yet here they were, slowly opening under Jisoo's gentle touch. Remember how the ocean feels, Jisoo continued, her voice low and melodic. How the waves push and pull. Your hands remember that rhythm. She continued the massage, working each tiny finger with reverent attention. That's it. Your body knows. Your body remembers. Minho watched, transfixed, as she worked with each child in turn, stretching limbs, encouraging tiny movements, celebrating microscopic victories as if they were Olympic achievements. She spoke to them constantly, not in the condescending tone adults often used with children, but in normal, respectful conversation. Junho, I'm gonna help your legs remember how to stretch now. It might feel strange at first, but I'll go slow. You tell me in your way if it's too much. She demonstrated extraordinary sensitivity to the twins' nonverbal cues. When Junho's breathing quickened slightly, she immediately adjusted her approach. Too much? I hear you. Let's try a different way. When Junho began to fuss, showing early signs of a seizure, Jisoo didn't panic or call for help. She dimmed the lights, placed a weighted blanket across his legs, and applied gentle pressure to specific points on his feet. Techniques Minho had never seen before. Junho calmed within minutes. That's it, she murmured. You're stronger than what tries to take over your body. You're the boss of you. Minho checked the timestamp. This had occurred 2 hours after her shift officially ended. She should have been gone, yet here she was, still fully engaged with his children, using techniques no one had taught her. He found himself watching footage from previous days, scanning backward through hours of recordings. Jisoo was consistently patient, innovative, and most surprisingly, joyful with the twins. She seemed to genuinely enjoy their company, finding delight in responses so subtle that even Minho sometimes missed them. Did you see that, Miss Sumin? Your eyebrow moved when I mentioned butterflies. You like butterflies, don't you? I think we should read more about them tomorrow. Minho's skepticism warred with hope. Was he seeing what he wanted to see, projecting meaning onto coincidence? Or was Jisoo truly connecting with his children in ways no one else had? One evening, a week after she started, Minho watched as Jisoo brought a small traditional Korean drum into the playroom. She positioned the twins on a soft mat and placed the drum between them. Music lives in your bones, she told them. Your bodies remember rhythm from before you were born. She began a gentle beat, then guided Junho's hand to the drum's surface. For weeks, therapists had been trying to improve his motor control without success. Yet, as Jisoo released his hand, Junho maintained contact with the drum, not moving or tapping, but not pulling away either. Jisoo beamed as if he'd composed a symphony. You feel it, don't you? She whispered. That's your mother's heartbeat you're remembering. Minho's throat tightened. He'd never spoken to Jisoo about Sunhee. Had never mentioned her to the staff at all, finding the subject too painful. Yet somehow Jisoo had intuited the twins' need for their mother's memory, had found a way to connect them to her. The next day, Minho left work early, canceling an investor meeting without explanation. He told himself he needed to check something at home, that it was a practical matter. But the truth was simpler. He wanted to see Jisoo with the twins in person, not through a screen. He entered the penthouse quietly, following the sound of soft humming toward the solarium, Sunhee's favorite room, which he had kept maintained but rarely entered. Through the doorway, he saw Jisoo working with Soo-min in a standing frame, talking about each plant, letting her touch leaves and petals. Soo-min, this is called Mugunghwa, the Rose of Sharon, Jisoo was saying. It's our national flower. See how it reaches for the light, never giving up, always growing. It reminds me of you. Soo-min, typically withdrawn, was actually reaching for a vibrant pink blossom. Jisoo startled when she noticed. Minho, Mr. Park, I hope it's all right. We came to the solarium. The physical therapist mentioned Soo-min responds to natural light, and I thought. Minho nodded, unable to speak past the emotion in his throat. He'd built this room for Sunhee, who'd loved gardening. After her death, he'd avoided it entirely. The twins seem comfortable with you, he managed finally. Jisoo's expression softened. They're remarkable children, sir. They understand far more than people realize. How did you know? He asked, the question escaping before he could stop it. About their mother? About the heartbeat? Surprise flickered across Jisoo's face. I didn't know specifically, sir. But all children carried inside their mothers remember that rhythm. It's their first music. She hesitated. And children who have lost their mothers still need to feel connected to them. I thought perhaps. Yes, Minho said quickly, looking away. They do need that. He left abruptly, retreating to his office, overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't name. That night, watching the evening footage became Minho's ritual. He found himself rushing through meetings, canceling dinners, eager to return to his private study where he could witness the quiet magic Jisoo created with his children. She brought books, music, textured objects. She developed games that engaged their senses, scented oils to smell, bells with different tones, fabrics with varying textures. She sang songs from her childhood, told stories about growing up near Busan, described colors as if they had personalities. Blue is thoughtful and deep like you, Junho. Blue takes its time. It doesn't rush. Yellow is brave and bold. Soo-min. It jumps right out and says hello to the world. But it was her consistency that moved Minho most deeply. When the twins were difficult, when progress seemed non-existent, when other caregivers might have retreated to easier tasks, Jisoo remained fully present. Her patience never wavered. Her voice never sharpened. Her movements never grew hurried or rough. One afternoon, Junho had multiple seizures in succession. The medical alert system notified Minho, who watched the feed in real time from his office, ready to call an ambulance. But Jisoo managed each episode with remarkable skill, adjusting his position, ensuring his airway remained clear, speaking calmly throughout. I know this is scary, she told Junho when the seizures finally subsided. But you came through it. You always do. You're the strongest person I know, Junho Park. After putting the twins down for a nap, she sat in a chair between their beds and wept quietly, the emotional toll finally showing. But when they woke, her smile returned immediately, her energy renewed. Minho found himself wondering about her life. Where had she learned such care? What experiences had shaped her? Why was she working as a housekeeper when she clearly possessed extraordinary gifts? 3 weeks after she started, Minho witnessed something that changed everything. It had been a difficult day. Junho had experienced multiple seizures, and Soo-min had been inconsolable for hours. The night nurse had called in sick, and Minho was stuck in an emergency board meeting. The Japanese acquisition was in jeopardy. A competitor had made a counteroffer. By the time he checked the cameras, it was nearly midnight. Jisoo should have left hours ago. Instead, he found her in the nursery, sitting in a rocking chair between the twins' specialized beds. The lights were dim, and she held one child's hand through each bed railing. She was singing something low and melodic that sounded like a traditional lullaby. As the twins finally settled, she began speaking softly. "My grandmother used to say that some souls come to this world with special purposes," she murmured. "She said the hardest journeys are given to the strongest spirits. I believe that about you too." She paused, adjusting Junho's blanket. "When I was 12, my grandmother had a stroke. For 5 years, I helped care for her. Other children were outside playing, but I was learning to massage cramped muscles, to read expressions when words failed, to find joy in the smallest victories." Jisoo's voice caught. "People thought it was a tragedy, a child becoming a caregiver. But it was a gift. I learned that love isn't just feelings. It's showing up. It's believing in somebody when they can't believe in themselves." She looked between the twins. "Your father shows up for you every day. He might not know how to say it, but his love fills this whole house. And your mother," Jisoo's voice softened further. "She's watching. I feel her sometimes in this room. She's so proud of you three." Minho closed the app, buried his face in his hands, and wept for the first time since Sun Hee's funeral. Something broke open inside him, a dam of grief, of fear, of isolation. He had been so focused on protecting his children from harm that he had forgotten to show them joy. So determined to control their care that he had missed opportunities for connection. The next morning, he made a decision. He called his executive team and took a leave of absence, effective immediately. The Japanese acquisition could wait. He disabled the cameras throughout the house. And when Jisoo arrived, he asked to speak with her privately. In his office, she stood nervously, hands clasped before her. "Have I done something wrong, Mr. Park?" Minho shook his head. "The opposite, Ms. Kim. I need to confess something to you." Her expression remained composed, waiting. "There are cameras in the children's rooms," he said directly. "In the playroom, in the therapy space. I've been watching you with them." Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed by something unreadable. "I see. You have every right to be angry," Minho continued, "to feel violated, to quit immediately. May I ask why?" Her voice was steady without accusation. "Because previous caregivers abused my trust. Because I've seen people treat my children cruelly when they thought no one was looking. Because..." He paused, forcing himself to acknowledge the deeper truth. "Because I didn't believe anyone could truly care for them the way they deserve." Jisoo absorbed this, her expression thoughtful. "And what did you see?" "I saw..." Minho struggled to find words adequate to describe her care. "I saw you loving them. I saw you believing in them when specialists have told me to expect nothing. I saw you treating them with a dignity that..." His voice broke. "That I haven't always managed myself." He told her about the cameras, expecting anger or resignation. Instead, she regarded him steadily. "You were protecting your children," she said simply. "Any good parent would." Her forgiveness undid him. "What I saw was you have gifts that go far beyond housekeeping." For the first time, Jisoo looked uncomfortable. "I should have been more forthcoming about my background." She explained that before her grandmother's illness bankrupted their family, she'd been studying physical therapy with a focus on traditional Korean medicine. After her grandmother died, Jisoo had to abandon her education to support her younger siblings. Housekeeping paid better than entry-level healthcare positions. "I've continued learning on my own," she admitted. "Reading research, taking online courses when I can afford them. The techniques I use with the twins, they're based on integrating modern therapy with traditional methods my grandmother taught me. The foot pressure for Junho's seizures? Acupressure points. There's research suggesting they can interrupt the electrical misfiring. It doesn't always work, but when it does." And Sumin's hands? Myofascial release combined with techniques passed down through generations. The tissues remember their original state. Sometimes they just need permission to return there. Minho listened, a plan forming in his mind. When she finished, he made her an offer that left her speechless. A new position as the twins' developmental coordinator with a salary that exceeded what she'd make with full credentials, plus funding to complete her education. "This isn't charity," he said firmly when she began to protest. "It's an investment in the best care for my children. Mr. Park, Minho," he corrected. "If we're going to work together for my children's future, I think first names are appropriate." Jisoo's eyes filled with tears. "They deserve everything good in this world." "So do you," Minho said quietly, the words surprising them both. Over the following months, the penthouse transformed. Minho converted his home gym into a therapy room with equipment Jisoo recommended. He participated in daily sessions with the twins, learning the techniques that had seemed so magical through the camera lens. "Like this?" he asked, attempting to massage Junho's tight shoulder muscles. "Almost." Jisoo guided his hands with her own. "Feel for the resistance, then wait. Don't push through it. Invite it to release." Minho felt the subtle change beneath his fingertips as the muscle relaxed. Junho's expression softened. "I felt it," Minho whispered, amazed. "He responded to me. He always does," Jisoo smiled. "You're just learning his language now." Progress came slowly, in precious increments. Sumin began using a communication board, making choices with her eyes. Junho went 2 weeks without a seizure for the first time in his life. Both children developed deliberate movements, reaching, grasping, pressing, that specialists had deemed unlikely. Dr. Kim says he's never seen improvement like this in cases as severe as theirs, Minho told Jisoo one evening. He asked what treatments we're using. "And what did you tell him?" "That we're not just treating conditions. We're nurturing children." Jisoo's smile lit her entire face. "Exactly right." Minho found himself laughing again. Not the practiced chuckle he used in boardrooms, but genuine laughter that bubbled up unexpectedly. He started sharing meals with Jisoo and the twins instead of eating alone in his office. He began joining them for evening stories, watching the way Jisoo's expressions brought characters to life. He noticed things about her. The way sunlight caught auburn highlights in her dark hair, how her hands moved expressively when she spoke, the dimple that appeared with genuine smiles. He found himself looking for ways to make that dimple appear. One evening, after the twins were asleep, Minho found Jisoo in the solarium arranging flowers. "Son, he loved Magungwa," he said, surprising himself by mentioning her name voluntarily. "She said they were stubborn, like me." Jisoo smiled. "Tell me about her." For hours they sat among the plants as Minho spoke about Sun Hee, her passion for environmental architecture, her terrible cooking, her infectious laugh. Jisoo listened without interruption, offering her presence as a gift. "She sounds remarkable," Jisoo said when he finally fell silent. She would have been an extraordinary mother. She still is, through you. The twins know her because you carry her with you." When he finally fell silent, she said, "The twins have her determination. I see it every day." "They have her eyes," Minho added. "But their spirit, that quiet strength. I think they get that from you." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Jisoo looked away, but Minho saw the flush spreading across her cheeks. "I should go," she said softly. "It's late." "Stay," Minho replied, then quickly clarified. "For dinner tomorrow with me, after the twins are asleep." Her eyes met his. "That would cross a line." "Some lines should be crossed," he said. "Some boundaries only exist because we're afraid." Jisoo considered him thoughtfully. "Are you afraid, Minho?" "Terrified," he admitted. "But someone wise once told me that love isn't just feelings. It's showing up." She smiled then, radiant with surprise and something like hope. "I believe dinner would be lovely." This incredible journey from suspicion to transformation reminds us that sometimes miracles come in unexpected forms. If this story touched your heart, please smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. With your support, we can continue bringing these powerful stories that restore faith in humanity. The next evening, they ate on the terrace overlooking the Seoul skyline. Minho had dismissed the staff, cooking himself for the first time in years. A simple kimchi jjigae that Sun-hee had taught him. "This is delicious," Jisoo said, genuine surprise in her voice. "Don't sound so shocked," Minho laughed. "I do possess some skills beyond corporate takeovers. I'm learning that daily." Her eyes held his. "You're not who I thought you were when we met. Who did you think I was?" A man who measured value in productivity. Who saw his children as problems to solve rather than people to know. Minho winced. "That was painfully accurate." "But not anymore," she said gently. "You're changing just like the twins are. Growing into who you were meant to be all along." Their relationship developed with the same patience Jisoo showed the twins. Careful. Intentional. Without rushing. Minho learned her story in layers. Her childhood near Busan. The sacrifices she'd made for her family. Her dreams of establishing a center where traditional Korean healing practices could be integrated with modern therapy. Most research focuses on conditions with known trajectories, she explained one evening as they walked through the garden. But what about children like Sumin and Junho, who don't fit neat diagnostic boxes? They deserve approaches tailored to their unique needs, not generic protocols that ignore their individuality. "You should write that down," Minho said. "It sounds like a mission statement." 6 months after that first dinner, Minho established the Sun-hee Park Foundation, naming Jisoo as its director. A year later, they opened a center providing comprehensive services to children like Sumin and Junho, regardless of their family's financial circumstances. "What you've created is revolutionary," Dr. Kim admitted during the center's opening. "Integrating developmental approaches, physical therapy, traditional medicine, and family support under one roof. It's what these children have always needed." "Jisoo created it," Minho corrected. "I just provided resources." "You provided belief," Jisoo said, joining them. "That's rarer than money." As the center flourished, so did the twins. By their 6th birthday, Sumin was using a specialized tablet to communicate in short sentences. Junho's seizures had reduced dramatically, and he could sit unsupported for short periods. Both children laughed often, a sound Minho had once feared he might never hear. And Minho himself had transformed. He returned to Park Digital Systems, but with new priorities and boundaries. He was home for dinner every night. He took weekends off. He spoke openly about his children in board meetings, no longer compartmentalizing his life into separate spheres. "The Foundation's approach is informing our company's innovations," he told shareholders. "We're developing adaptive technologies for children with disabilities that will eventually transform accessibility across markets. Doing good is good business." On the twins' 7th birthday, Minho proposed. Not with grand gestures or public displays, but quietly in the solarium where they'd first begun to know each other. "You taught me that protection isn't about cameras and control," he told her. "It's about presence, patience, belief. You helped me fulfill my promise to Sun-hee. Our children know love because of you." Jisoo, who never lacked for words with the twins, found herself speechless. She answered by taking his hand and placing it over her heart. "Is that a yes?" he asked, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "It's a what took you so long?" she replied, tears and laughter mingling. Their wedding was small, with the twins as participants. Junho, supported by a walker, carried the rings. Sumin, using her communication device, delivered a message that left no dry eyes. Family not from blood, but from love. Minho's vows were simple. "I promise to see you, truly see you every day. To never take for granted the miracle that brought you into our lives. To show up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Jisoo's response came from her heart. "I promise to remind you of the wonder in ordinary moments. To believe in possibilities when doubt creeps in. To love not just who you are, but who you're becoming." Today, the Park home has no hidden cameras. It has no silence. It rings with music, laughter, and the sounds of children who continue to defy expectations. The twins still face challenges, but they face them surrounded by unconditional love and unwavering belief in their potential. The Sun Hee Park Foundation has expanded to 3 locations, serving hundreds of children whose potential might otherwise have been overlooked. Jisoo completed her formal education, publishing research that has changed approaches to developmental disabilities throughout Asia. Minho divides his time between the company and the foundation, finding fulfillment in both worlds. As for the twins, they continue to surprise everyone but Jisoo, who always knew what they were capable of. Sumin, now 9, communicates fluently through her device, revealing a sharp wit and artistic sensibility. Junho, with intensive therapy, has taken his first independent steps. Both children are attending a specialized inclusive school, making friends, discovering their unique gifts. Do you ever think about how differently things might have turned out? Minho asked Jisoo one evening, watching the twins in the garden from their terrace. If you hadn't installed those cameras? She smiled. Or if I hadn't talked to myself when I thought no one was listening? Both, he said, taking her hand. We might have missed each other entirely. I don't think so, Jisoo replied thoughtfully. Some connections are meant to happen. If not through cameras, then some other way. Minho often reflects on how differently his life might have unfolded if he hadn't watched those camera feeds. If he hadn't witnessed true compassion in action, he might have remained isolated in grief, missing the miracles unfolding daily in his own home. Instead, he discovered that sometimes the most valuable things we can witness are the moments when someone thinks no one is watching. When their true character reveals itself not in grand gestures, but in quiet acts of extraordinary love. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever discovered unexpected kindness that changed your life? Your stories inspire us and our entire community. For more incredible true stories that will warm your heart and restore your faith in humanity, check out our playlist linked in the description below. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our new uploads every Wednesday and Sunday.